everyone, and welcome back to BSG Online 8. Up next, we have Hardcorp's Uprising, a race on PlayStation 3 with Anti-Aaron and TheOnlyJoey with Tempest Mask 1000 on commentary. Take it away.
All right. Hello, friends and fellow gamers. I hope you didn't miss me for too long because I certainly said I was going to be poking around, and this was one of those things. Um, Aaron, Joey, how are you two gentlemen doing?
Really good.
Pretty good, thank you.
So, for those that are unaware of this game, this is Hardcore Uprising, and this is a Contra title that was developed by the wonderful Arc System Works. So, if you're familiar with the way they've crafted games like the Blaze Blue titles, as well as the Guilty Gears of old, this is basically what draws upon that, and you're going to probably enjoy this. This is a wonderful game, and we're going to have a Sayuri Rising Mode race between these wonderful runners. So, yeah. Aaron, Joey, is there anything you'd like to explain before we kick it off?
Uh, this is basically a Contra Gaiden on how we are playing this wonderful Contra game.
Yeah, it's one of the more interesting games since when I initially played, I didn't even knew it was a Contra game, but you will see it pretty fast enough.
And we're all going to basically do what we can to hopefully give you all a good show. I'm just here to give out the knowledge and the knowledge of experience that I can give. But these two runners, oh yeah, they're going to blow your minds, all right. So how about this? Shall I give you both the countdown?
Yes.
All right. So timer will officially begin once they gain control of their character, but I will count down when they will press the ready screen. So let us begin. 3, 2, 1, Contra.
Contra.
Let's go.
And then time will begin. Let's say now. All right, go. And with that in mind, welcome one and all to the Sayuri run. So, if you're wondering what exactly this is, because some of you actually might have played this game, you might not necessarily know that this character was a thing from the get-go. That's because she's one of 3 DLC packs, still very much available, at least to the Xbox family, for sure. Now, these runners are actually going to be doing PlayStation 3, particularly via a emulation, which is perfectly acceptable, of course. This game is still technically available on the PS3 shop. Of course, you got to jump through a few loopholes to get it, but it's not the worst thing in the world. And with that in mind, I did mention earlier that this is a Arc System Works game, so you're basically seeing a lot of sprite work within 3D backgrounds. Of course, depth perception is still something to keep in mind because the things that can hurt you will indeed hurt you. The nice thing about this game, though, is that it does take a mix of the game that it does take its namesake off of, which of course is Contra Hardcore. That game originally launched for the Sega Genesis, and the Japanese version did have a health bar, particularly the Japanese version, whereas the US version was known to have the one hit you're dead sort of thing going on. And in here, our runners can take multiple hits. The nice thing too about Sayuri is that she does not gain any sort of major different types of guns. So basically her sword can be pretty strong, and gem is just something that you're not necessarily going to have to worry about all that much. Now, as you can see, these two are basically slicing through these mini bosses. We've already gotten halfway through the stage as it is, so we're now actually going to jump into the first major boss. And the Lotus Worm here is going to essentially do a bit of a bullet barrage attacks depending on if it decides to attack with its different sections, but it's the main head that we want to attack in order to take this fella down, just like that. And yeah, as you can see, Sayuri is basically cutting through these things like a hot knife through butter. So I'm going to actually explain what Rising Mode is to give you all an idea as to what's going on there. Rising Mode is one of 2 modes alongside the Arcade Mode. So if you're familiar with having more of a Contra-esque challenge, then Arcade Mode is probably what you're going to shoot for. But in terms of Rising Mode, it's a very accessible thing, which also comes with these unlockable upgrades using what's called core points, which you obviously gain through playing the game itself. And essentially, a optimal rising mode run is going to see one essentially grinding out as many core points as they can to generally get nearly all, or in the case of some characters, all of the upgrades. And that's basically how Sayuri is one of the easiest characters to learn, because at full power, she really knows how to wield the blade, just like Roronoa or Zoro.
Mm-hmm. I'll land that one.
And that was stage one. That was very, very nicely executed so far, so good. So now we're moving on to stage two, the jungle. This is where we're going to get introduced to a few new enemies. One particular issue, like problematic foe, can be the sniper guys. They like to hit you hard with some pretty strong bullets, but of course, one of the things that hardcore here does give us is the ability to run. So as long as we're really just passing by them, they're not really going to be much of a problem anyway.
And the
Now,
poison.
one thing that you can also unlock in this game are character actions, which is one of the things you can do is deflect bullets. And let me tell you, that is one of the fun things you can try to accomplish, because if you successfully do so, they'll come back at the enemy, and it'll basically be friendly fire. And you know, it's just one of those fun touches that the developer decided to throw in case anybody's game for it. You're actually seeing these two use one of the actions, though, whenever you see Sayuri vault over, say, a low-hanging obstacle, like the sandbags or the crates. And, yeah, it's one of the things that actually does have a bit of speed usage, too. But yeah, Joey's currently entering, and Aaron just entered this as well, the mini-boss that actually serves as the best grind point for getting core points, because core points, you gain more of them by building up that little combo meter that you've been seeing go on whenever they start to slash through things. And so the more multiplier you get, the more core points you get in general. So obviously the thing that continues to generate that would be those crocodile enemies, because while they do serve as platforms, they are still very much you know, things that you can destroy, basically. I do have a quick tech note. Aaron, when you have the moment, could you just quickly reposition your mic after this boss?
Reposition my mic.
Just a little.
Closer or away to my mouth?
Maybe just a little bit away.
Okay, so I'll move it from my head.
It's otherwise you should be good.
Yeah.
All right, so that right there, that little fella that just dropped in is Leviathan, and he was just trying to pilot that little night mech right there to give us a little bit of trouble. But of course, this is a Sayuri run. We say no to trouble. We just go, and there's no stopping us now. We're basically the living definition of the Queen song, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
So there you go. And I hope you all are having a good time. Shout out to Classic Rock. Anyway, we're now entering the Ruins stage, and, well, stage 3 is a bit interesting in that whenever you see a proper introduction for a boss, you could almost consider that the main boss. In this case, we kind of have two of them. You'll see the first portion of it soon enough. Right now, though, I do want to point out to those stretchy arm enemies, I did make a bit of a One Piece reference earlier, and I'm going to do it again with Monkey D. Luffy, because that's what those guys essentially are. Except they didn't eat the gum fruits, they're robots, so they become the explode fruit. Wait, that's not a thing. Sorry, sorry, anime fans.
It is now totally canon. You're the first.
Oh, well, you know, there is an explosion-type devil fruit out there, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, here's the 573 Tigress. Like I said, this was going to be the first of two main boss phases, and in this case, we've got a bit of a traditional side-scroller in that you just got to try and destroy the core, or at least damage it enough times, and you got to be a little wary because you get the 3 different attacks. The thing about this game is that there are drop through platforms and as well as jump through platforms, and that's what the game encourages to use in order to dodge the giant lasers, because Tigress is essentially trying to put pressure on you while also potentially destroying the platforms, and that's mainly how that fight would go in a more casual sense, or an arcade mode sense. The tick enemies, by the way, you're seeing our runners simply just step on them, but by doing the dashing, or just not dashing, running. And yeah, that's enough to destroy them. It's one of those small little details that you don't normally see on other enemies in gaming in general, but it's also the funny kind, the nice kind, the kind that I appreciate. Alright, this is a bit of a ruined stage, like I mentioned, and so we got a bit of a Indiana Jones style thing going on with the collapsing spike ceiling. But now we move on to a bit of a slight auto-scroller section, and coming up we're going to actually fall down a waterfall, which is sort of like a reverse callback to the first Contra game, which had a level which had you climb up one. So get ready to say hello to the sights, and as we fall into the river, we're going to actually see the Tigress turn into the Draconis, and that will be our second boss fight, where essentially the runners are going to dodge some attacks and then jump on the main body to destroy the core, and then once that's taken care of, they will have to get off the body and then back onto the helicopter, and that will be the end of the stage. So while this intro cutscene to the boss is going on, Galasrinie, I think this would be a fine time for some donations or any announcements if you have them.
Yep. We had a donation that came in of $80 from Tucker Von Dutch, which is going towards the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles incentive for which character to be picked. And they said, if we gotta go first, Splinter the closest to a hedgehog, right? Good luck at Tea Tree, I will be watching. So yeah, that's going for the bid war for what character the runner will be. There's Splinter, April O'Neil, Cassie Jones, Raphael, Michelangelo, Leonardo, or Donatello. So if you want to get in and pick what character will be picked, get your donations in.
And shout out
Heck yeah, and let me tell you all that a tea
to Ninja
tree is a
Turtles.
yeah, the turtles are good. Like Shredder's Revenge is a fantastic game, and a tea tree is a very good friend of mine, and he really knows how to make that game just flow. So you all do not want to miss that for sure. Especially with getting to see what each of the characters can do. It's really nuts seeing how we've had the leaderboard separate into all those wonderful folks. And I mean, hey, if you want to hear my personal preference, it's got to be Casey Jones, because I'm Tempest Mask 1000 and it's on brand. So,
turns
you
out.
know.
If you notice me on
But yeah,
camera,
no, that's I very much appreciate a good Splinter run as well. Yeah, as I was gonna say though, we're now moving on to the highway stage.
yep,
And
it's an auto.
Joey, do you have any choice words to say about this stage?
It's an auto-scroller. It does auto-scroller things. You are on an electric skateboard, and it's an auto-scroller. We all know how speedrunners feel about auto-scrollers. It's an auto-scroller.
Except for the people who run
Yeah, pretty
Turtles
much.
in Time, because for the people who run Turtles in Time, you know, and we could say a neon, I mean Knight Rider, but also
Neon
on,
Knight Riders.
yep, but also on
It's
on on a tech check, you can see the difference between a actual PS and the emulator on his and my screen on the free loading screen. His screen is actually loading up a little bit faster than it is on my PlayStation.
yeah, so that's
It's
gotta
also-
be interesting.
So basically, it is going at the speed of my Xbox S.
Now, it is worth mentioning that the game, or rather the run itself, is calculated in terms of in-game timing, which whenever you see the results screens, that is one of the things that does get displayed. So, by the end of the race, we will actually see which of the two will have the faster IGT, and that will essentially be our competitive winner here. Other than that, though, really, there are quite a few options with this game. So, interestingly enough, they never really gave this a PC version, and I guess that's fairly understandable because with this being a Konami Digital Entertainment title, this wouldn't be the first time. Some of you might be familiar with the fact that we've also had stuff like, say, the Xbox 360 port of Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and even to this day, that game has yet to receive a proper PC port outside of well, emulation. So, in a similar sense, this game has yet to see any re-releases outside of the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox family. But one of the nice things about the Xbox version is that it is backward compatible, so it is possible to play this on an Xbox One and an Xbox Series XS, and essentially that makes it much faster in terms of the load times as you go up that ladder. So, of course, it's not what will help you get a world record at the end of the day, but if you are all about that sort of thing, then definitely give it a shot, because newer hardware, I can only imagine, would be one of the fine ways to enjoy the details of this game for sure. That said, Arc System Works, Konami, if you do happen to be listening into this on the offset chance, please do consider putting this game on Steam, or heck, even the Nintendo Switch. I'll honestly take either at this point.
I will.
Also, sequel?
Yes.
Okay, yes, this is true. That is a good point as we are moving on to this mini-boss. Well, first and foremost, we do want to see if we can dispatch this thing before it starts to do a roadside attack where it becomes invulnerable. So let's see how Joey does right here. Nicely done. Alright, cool. No problems here. Of course, the game is now telling you to duck, but, of course, swag jumping anyway.
Stealing my.
Swag.
He's been watching. He's been watching my runs.
That's fair. That's totally fair. Yeah, see, Aaron having no problem either. Yeah, these two are just smashing it right now, and we're only on level 4 out of 8 levels in total, by the way, so we are nearly halfway through the game. But with that in mind, we are now also approaching the main boss. And essentially, we're going to see something of a... It's kind of sort of a bullet hell, in one of the phases anyway. For now, the Lux Corona is going to have this outer shell, which we do need to destroy these little glass pieces in order to then be able to open up the ring and then go inside the darn thing. Because then, at that point, we got to destroy these green slimy things. I actually don't know what to really call that.
Gradius. Gradius. Just think of Gradius.
That's true. That's a very good point.
Because this is Konami.
Yeah, it is Konami. There you go. I was just about to say that. And now, a quick little henshin will turn this ring into a robot. Alright, so this phase can get a little bit interesting to deal with because, like I said, there's kind of some bullet hell attacks, but then we start to see the point in the fight where it will try to use the ring and actually have the collision be what attacks us. So it can be one of those spatial awareness sort of fights, but you're also noticing it change tactics as it loses at least a quarter of its health, which of course Sayuri's wicked strong 1000 degree hot knife through butter blade is essentially making short work of no problem. So yeah, no, we're not really going to have much trouble here,
And
folks.
I took the damage
It's all
boost
just
too
a
early.
matter of going fast, and that's all we like to see in a speed run, you know?
Going
All
fast
right.
all the time.
And I took the freaking damage boost a
Well-
little too early. So that's why I lost a life. But also,
Yeah, that's fair.
a
It is-
cool thing on Rising is that you have the option to start out with 30 lives. He started
Yeah, I
out
was just about to mention that.
on 30 lives, but I started out with a little bit lower because I don't need all 30.
That said, 30 lives being the maximum life upgrade that you can give to your character is an obvious call out or call back to the Konami code, which in the original Contra game does give you exactly 30 lives. So it is a really nice little touch, a nice little reference to a very classic piece of gaming history in itself, which, by the way, that actually does have a purpose within this game. Aaron did tell me that apparently in Stage 1, you can change the theme to the classic Contra song if you use the Konami code there. So that's really cool. I actually never knew that, and I'm going to have to try that myself very soon. That said,
It's a very
these
good
two...
remix.
Oh yeah, I'd believe it. This is a good point too, because technically with this game acting as a prequel to Contra Hardcore for Genesis, that also means it takes place before the original Contra for NES as well, so keep that in mind, folks. But yeah,
Especially
also,
during the
Joey
escort.
did mention that we could have seen a sequel, and there actually was a plan to make Hardcore its own sort of franchise. So technically, while we never really got a second game, that kind of was part of the plan within Arxis and the Konami team. So a shame it never really panned out, but it is at least agreed upon that this game does quite a lot of good among folks that have reviewed it and stuff. So at the very least, they did give us something nice with all that. But yeah, I kind of agree. Maybe one of these days we'll actually see it. That'd be kind of neat.
It would be great.
Hey,
And speaking of
it's been a while since what's it called? Rogue Core came out, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I don't think we really talk about that one.
No, I thought about it, but I was like, no.
I hear that.
And speaking of the original Contra Hardcore, look, he is so young. Mandrake is so young.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
the thing about Dr. Geo Mandrake here is that, yeah, this could very well be the same fella that we have as an antagonist in Contra Hardcore, but here we're actually rescuing him because the general plot of the game is that in this setting of the Contra timeline, we have the Commonwealth as this government which our friends here of the Resistance are trying to topple over, and Dr. Geo Mandrake essentially has some research and information that could be of great use to us. So that actually was an escort mission, and the doctor himself had a bit of a health bar, which, if drained entirely, he doesn't die, but he does undergo this recovery animation, which does take quite a bit of time and will cause quite a absurd amount of time loss. But then
And
you
he takes a
also
life. He
lose
takes a life. Yeah.
before he gets back up.
It's brutal. Especially in arcade
Also,
mode. If you have 0 lives.
Yeah, that's never fun, is it? Also, in case you were thinking that this is a Contra game that seems to be lacking its fair share of aliens, well, there you go.
The start
Also,
of the Alien War.
Also, the escort mission is probably the best way to have your run die, because that's the only place where, like,
This
you
stage.
can have the best run ever, but if your escort is wrong, then you can just reset.
This stage is the run killer.
Yeah.
It's never really fun. I'll tell you what is fun, though. The fact that we basically went through an entire stealth level without paying mind to stealth. Something that I was actually going to mention earlier, but kind of forgot to do so.
It happens.
Oh well. So, we're back to auto-scroller now.
Which means... Which means... Are we killing the animals?
Wait, Aaron, I don't think there are any animals here.
Well, it is an auto-scroller.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, there are mechanical dogs in this game. Does that count?
Yeah.
And the mechanical frogs. Don't forget about the mechanical frogs. Those also kill runs.
And the mechanical ticks.
I kind of forgot about that, not gonna lie.
Yeah, the mechanical frogs are terrible.
I'd believe it. Oh boy. This is... I'm feeling a little extra giddy. That's probably because it's a little past 1 o'clock.
That's alright.
Yeah.
I'm feeling good.
I slept for 2 hours. This is definitely one of the runs of all time.
You're doing good. You're doing really good. I will say that. Granted,
Yeah, both of you are really neck and neck. Like, seriously, what you're... Like, sure.
I jumped the
game
gun.
speeds might be going a little differently, but let me tell you, you're still making this look absolutely synced, and I couldn't be any happier for that.
That's what I'm after.
But,
That's what I'm
Yeah,
always
man.
after. I'm always after to make sure it is, you know, looking really good. You know, because I hate the feeling of blowing away a person. I hate that feeling. I really do.
Hey, it's always best to just do the best run you can, have fun,
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit of friendly competition is always good.
Yep. And
absolutely.
the people watching are the ones that I'm thinking about, you know?
Ah, yeah.
Those are the ones that I'm thinking about, the people watching. As African Tempest knows, as he saw in the Free Contra race, of how I handicapped.
Yeah, the Contra race, we actually did have a bit of a showcase of this game over at Contra Races, and if you guys want to check that out, it's definitely a fun watch, let me tell you. I actually do want to give a shout out to a couple of fellow Contra runners in Slurpy Ninja and Phantomire who are actually going to be showcasing a co-op run at some point next month, and this game actually does have a co-op feature which works both locally and online, so you can definitely manage however which way you so choose. So yeah, definitely something to think about for sure if anybody wants to pick up this game, especially with a friend, because you know sometimes it takes two, baby. It takes two, baby. Me and you. Sorry.
And
Wrong
Joey
game.
is a skilled, and Joey here is a skilled co-op. He's skilled in co-op. Yes, and it falls off.
I actually started playing because of co-op. The game was actually on, I think it was the Xbox sale or something like that, and a friend of mine bought it or got it on this Xbox Gold.
Yep,
We just started
I
playing,
did too.
and that's literally how I started just speedrunning everything,
Same.
and yeah.
Same.
Kind of escalated, so now I've been running for more than 2 years almost.
Same. I would not have gotten this if it wasn't on gold.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Like, all of a sudden, there was quite a big resurgence in, like, a
Me.
game that for a while was a little bit deadish.
It was me. It was me who brought it back, and just I brought it back.
I mean,
and
hey, sometimes all it takes is just one person, and then the magic happens. You know. I mean, you certainly convinced me to give this a try, so I'm not one to deny it.
Yep.
But yeah,
And if you like a
just-
challenge, then the arcades, specifically the arcade category, is very interesting. Because,
Yes.
The person who has the arcade gunner record is QD6, who is an incredible speedrunner. But he set such a good score that it's going to be very, very difficult in order to come close.
I can't do it.
Yeah, it's
I
just
can't gun. I can't gun arcade.
it's just insane.
I'm trying. I will say that I am trying. I have Bahamut in arcade, but I can't do Crystal. But Crystal,
Yeah.
but Crystal, and his freaking Leviathan he hasn't even put up. And I'm like, come on, dude. I see your things on YouTube. Put up your Harley. Put up your Leviathan. Just submit them.
Leviathan is very interesting too because among all the gunner characters, he only has a singular gun slot, which definitely makes him a harder character to work out.
He is Contra.
But-
He is Contra to the max of only 1 health and 1 gun.
Yeah.
But he has grenades, so that works.
It's an interesting run if you want to give yourself a challenge after you've done this game like a million times.
Do it in Rising. I recommend Rising. You have a better.
And now for the best entrance into anybody's enemy base ever.
Yep.
Swords blazing.
Swords blazing.
And straight up from the ground. Did I mention, by the way, I like trains?
I like trains.
I like trains. And at last stage, it was poorly trained.
You are poorly trained. Yep.
So we now have entered the Capitol Tower, and this place is essentially where we're going to lay the real hurt on the Commonwealth. So at this rate, what we're going to be seeing here is a series of elevators which can essentially choose to go slow, medium, or fast. It all depends on what the game decides to do, and that can especially tip the scales in or against your favor. So we're also going to see a fair amount of missiles coming in as well. And you might have noticed that with the overall platforming, it's not just jumping from one platform to the next, but rather you can also cling onto the walls, and that's especially something that will come into play once you see nothing but rocket fuel, I guess. I wanted to say nothing but net, but I couldn't. I'm sorry, it's March Madness. It was a near force of habit.
You're fine.
Yeah, for some reason, all of a sudden this level is like, do you know what we need? A lot of vertical sections.
We need a lot of
vertical sections
callbacks.
do be like that.
We need a lot of callbacks. What callbacks have we not actually done yet?
Well, you do kind of really feel that this game is like a labor of love, because everything from like the over-the-top voice lines to like the art style and everything, it just feels really cool and
Fast.
really close to like what if Contra was made like in a little bit more of a modern style, which I quite enjoy.
I couldn't agree more.
Our ninja
An
jump.
interesting thing to point out about the enemies with the little circular gate-like things, those are actually bullet catchers, and if you hit them with simple projectiles, they'll just shoot it back.
Key
But
trick.
now we're also seeing a bit of a climb section where you're also going to see these intentional death warps. And if done right, it will allow the character to respawn
Shit.
above these trigger points that would normally spawn these helicopter enemies.
Which I blew for
Looks
some.
like we did see a bit of a helicopter spawn, unfortunately, on Aaron's side, but Joey was able to clear it just fine. Aaron did manage to dispatch the helicopter pretty fast, though, so it's still definitely close enough. And now we are seeing the missiles coming up and about, and yeah, you're basically just going to have to stick onto them. But they also give you the little color cues as to when they are close to exploding, so yeah, it's certainly a bit daunting. I will say that much, because, yeah, Contra games can be known for having just a little bit of knockback sometimes, you know, just a tiny bit.
I
Alright,
overjumped.
so now we are coming up to a section. Well, okay, no, we still got a bit more climbing to do, but soon we will be coming up to a section where we're going to say hi to our good friend Leviathan once again. And it's a bit of a
Spaghetti.
chase section.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just yelling spaghetti, sorry.
Spaghetti.
Spaghetti. That's fair. Also, you might have noticed this dude standing in the elevator right here, right there. That's Tiberius. He's the leader of the Commonwealth. He also speaks with a bit of British accent, apparently. And wouldn't you know it, he's also Sayuri's adoptive father. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Take that
Japanese
for what you will.
storylines.
Star Wars.
Yeah,
A
Star
lot of-
Wars indeed.
A lot of George Lucas and Steven Spielberg ideas.
I would have to agree, and probably in the best way possible. So we are doing a bit of a chase sequence now, where we do have to follow Leviathan while also dealing damage to him, and then we will fight one more night mech coming from him. So, yeah, that's essentially going to happen. I think this would be a good time, though, to pass it back on over to our host, so if we got any donations or announcements to make, go right ahead.
Yeah, we'll just let people know again about the bid war for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that's happening after this run. You can pick the character choice. Right now, Splinter is in the lead, with April being second. So if there's any other characters that you want the runner to play as, be sure to get your donations in. All the donations are going towards mine to help with mental health. So yeah, get your donations in.
Heck yeah. Tell you what, I feel a little bit generous here. I'm gonna put a €5 donation to the winner's choice. I don't know if that will be enough to tip the scales for any of the character bid wars, but let's just make it a little interesting that way, shall we? So yeah, that was the Night
awesome.
Lunata. And not much else to be said, really, because again, we really just don't get to showcase what these things can really do.
All the bosses have so many faces, the music is awesome, and I barely even hear any of the music most of the time, because before it turns to like the point where I like it, I'm already in the next section. So, yeah, definitely enjoy this game casually as well, because even casually, this game is really cool to play through.
Absolutely. I would know myself because I very much enjoyed my first playthrough with Bahamut. And yeah, each character has a little something different to offer. Like, you start off with Bahamut and Crystal, both of which are gunners, but Crystal is actually a little bit faster in terms of movement and a few other things on top of that. So yeah, there's definitely quite a bit to do with each playthrough. And if you do decide to get the DLC characters, you add just a little bit more to the experience on top of that.
Yeah,
Also, that was
definitely.
Cerberus. Not a fun boss to take care of casually.
No. If you don't know about the quick way to killing him, he will go all Beyblade, and that will be terrible.
Yeah, we don't want to let it rip.
Nope, nope. We already have a second boss in the last level where he will also let it rip, and that's a difficult boss to deal with if you don't know how to quick kill it.
Yeah, not much we can do about that rolling bowling time or whatever you want to
No,
call it.
no, that Beyblade session is mandatory.
Very much. All right, so now we're going to the airship, which everybody from the rest of the Commonwealth escaped on in the most epic way possible by riding a missile. And now we've got a return of the bike autoscroller sections, which you might have seen a little bit of that from level 1. And yeah, it's going to be amped up a little bit because now we have lasers, we've got missiles, we've got flying drones. Yeah, that's I mean, it's certainly a far cry from just riding in the desert.
Yep.
Also, coming up, I just want to give a quick little shout out to Biker Mice
Nice.
to Mars.
Like a Metro Mars. And now the
So-
gauntlet, as I call it, the gauntlet.
The section, their sections.
Yes, gauntlets upon gauntlets. Particularly of enemies coming at you of all different sorts, shapes, sizes, different places, different varieties, and to top it all off, we also got you laser cannons. And if you call now, we can throw in an extra one for absolutely free. No charge required if you just dial this number within the next 5 hours. or something of that
1-800
caliber.
electric slide.
There you go.
The electric slide right there.
Ah, double squish.
Ooh, a little unfortunate.
Whoa! Okay, I still get the leap of faith.
Nice leap of faith right there for sure.
No.
Very, very challenging to accomplish sometimes. Like, no joke. Sometimes that can go your way. Other times it doesn't. It can
Yep.
all depend on a little bit of a judgment call as well as what just decides to happen in general.
And to prevent
yeah.
a squish, that's why you do the electric slide, because then it pushes you past it.
So now we're moving on to the Vitus engine, and this is where we're essentially going to debilitate the battleship. This is basically the traditional infiltrate the enemy ship and go for the core, and this is basically that. But we have these different core phases where we just have to destroy the orbs one at a time, and then eventually we get to, as Joey alluded to, the mandatory Beyblade phase. But for now, we also got some pillars to take care of. I usually like to think of this similar to Kirby Superstar's Mark's boss fight, when you're on the star machine thingamajig and you're essentially trying to avoid all these different pillars and obstacles to eventually hit the core hearts, and then, well,
I see
yeah,
Gunstar
after that,
Heroes.
it's just
I see Gunstar Heroes.
balls.
I don't know why, but I always saw. It's like, why does this remind me of that Gunstar Heroes boss?
You know, speaking of Gunstar Heroes, I do plan on getting that 3DS port before the eShop closes, just for Gunslinger mode alone, and I'm looking forward to that. Alright, Aaron has entered the Tiberius boss fight, and there are going to be 3 phases involved. The first is basic Tiberius, who is going to go through a few attacks. Well, as I would say that if we let him, but obviously we don't want to because he can be very annoying to deal with anyway, so we're just not going to give him the chance. But yeah, he can swap between throwing in some projectiles that try to rain down on you, as well as then either lunging at you with his fist in the air or from the ground. And that's a bit of a there's a bit of a pattern to it as well.
Hmm.
Other than that, we now move on to the second phase, where in that case, the idea is to, if at least if you're not fast enough anyway, eventually cling on that little tentacle thing that slams into the wall and then avoid all sorts of projectiles like the flamethrower cannon, the spawning of slime minions, stuff like that. Yeah, as Joey mentioned, the bosses do have all sorts of phases to them if given the chance to do so. But yeah, we're just we're just speedrunners. We know what we do best, and
We
they
probably see
always
2%. We probably see 2% of the actual like boss faces in this run.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
and the fun part: vertical climbing with no ground.
Yeah.
Now the fun part: vertical climbing with no ground while blindfolded.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
Aaron's gonna do that blindfolded. All right, good luck.
I did put that
Yeah.
in as a for an option if they needed time.
No, that's totally fair. That's totally fair. But yeah, Aaron actually has done blindfolded runs of this game, and let me tell you, it's
Those are insane. Yeah, those are
absolutely
insane. Well, he's
definitely
been dominating the
cheating out.
leaderboards, kind of, so he has to do something to keep it interesting.
I know it's like it was like, what other mountains can I do? What other mountains can I make or climb? And it's like, well, and there's queues. I don't need any
All right,
power ups.
folks. We are reaching time for Aaron, and time for him will be once he grabs the helicopter right now. So GG, that'll be the first clear on RTA. But now we do need
GG.
to see what the IGT is looking like in just a second, as Joey has gone from Augustus to Invictus. All right, Aaron's final time is 35 minutes 20 seconds.
Nice.
And then it looks like Tiberius Invictus was giving just a little bit of trouble for Joey there, but manages just fine. A quick little fun fact is that those helicopter bodies that are falling down, each of them have different gun powers depending on which ones you destroy. So it can really matter depending on what stuff you need. And yeah, just a little something to think about, really. Otherwise, if you do run out of lives at any given point, even when missing the helicopter, that does count as a game
Time.
over, and that's time for Joey.
I'm
GG, both of you.
guessing maybe a 37-25.
Let's see if you're right there.
Nope, not even.
Oh, 38-24. But still,
I was
good
off.
job, both of
Hey,
you.
hey, I beat the minute window by
Yeah,
1 second. I beat
yeah.
the minute window by.
You beat the minute window in 1 second. Yeah, man. Ah, that was fun.
That was fun.
Absolutely. All right,
Yeah.
well, that was Hardcore Uprising, folks, and let me tell you, this game is a absolute treat. Definitely help yourselves to it, and this game still very much goes on sale on the Xbox Marketplace, so if you do want to get it at a discount, much like I did, then absolutely nothing wrong with that. Of course, I do want to give a shout out to the developers of Arc System Works, as well as Konami for allowing ArcSys to work on things. And yeah, overall, this game is just a fun time. But I do have to give a big shout out to the Contra speedrunning community in general, where we also have a bunch of talented gamers putting their craft, honing it toward all the other Contra titles of the series. And we do like to hold showcases every now and then. So if you'd like to check out the Contra Races Twitch channel, give them a follow for whenever we are set to have our next little showcase, we would definitely appreciate that. Shout out to the community overall. Joey, Aaron, where can these wonderful people find you both?
Aaron, go for it. Make
And
it
they can
first.
find me on Twitch at anti Aaron, only one word. I usually stream on weekday mornings from 9 a.m. to about 12 o'clock. So that would be about 10 to 1 if you're on the East Coast. And on the the weekends, I normally stream from about 9 till early mornings. So I'll be pretty much streaming after this still. So I'll be easy to find.
Yeah, you can find me anywhere on TheOnlyJoey. Just look for it. I do music, I do Twitch. Also, shout out to BSG for being an awesome organization,
Thank you,
and the tech
BSG.
crew for going through these night shifts. And yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you both for just having me on commentary. This is always so much fun to
Yeah,
do. Like,
awesome.
let me
Thank you
tell
for
you.
commentary, of course.
I
Yeah.
cannot wait to see your gun run. I cannot
Oh
wait.
yeah, I'm definitely
You
gonna
owe
do it
me a
soon.
gun run.
One of
I will
us,
give you a
one
gun
of
run
us.
and you are going to be happy. All right, folks, we're going to toss it back to the event. My buddy a T Tree is coming up with some heroes in a half shell. So it's shredder time.
Cowabunga.